Welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host Definition, and this video we're breaking down the second episode of Snowpiercer. The series is now airing on Netflix, and for the next 9 weeks we're going to be breaking down everything you need to know about the brand new show. Throughout this video we'll be going over what happens in the second entry, its Easter eggs, and giving our theories on what's going on the train. There will be heavy spoilers here, so if you haven't had a chance to check it out yet, then I highly recommend that you check out right now. If you enjoy the video, then please consider subscribing and dropping a thumbs up, as it massively helps us out. With that out of the way, thank you for clicking this. Now let's get into our breakdown of Snowpiercer episode 2.
It's gonna be bumpy tomorrow.
Yeah. I hate this stretch of track.
Okay, so the second episode picks up in the wake of the revolution from last week. We see things from the perspective of Josie, who last time we learned was in a relationship with Layton, and both were surrogate parents to a boy named Miles. We see Ruth examining the wreckage, and she once more dons the coat that Minister Mason wore in the movie, showcasing how cold it is in the tail end of the car. She brings an announcement from Wilford that all uprisings will not be tolerated, and they take a child who was complicit in the death of 6 security guards. Just as they're about to punish her by freezing her arm, her mother stands up and asks that it be delivered unto her instead. Unto her? Oh man, I felt like I said that in Times New Roman. Anyway, the mother's arm is frozen instead, and as we saw in the film, this grueling punishment is carried out by placing someone's arm on the outside of the train until it fully freezes, and it's then shattered with a sledgehammer, which too reoccurs here. Missing arms are often seen on Snowpiercer as a symbol of those that have dissented, and we've already seen the character Yvonne from last week bearing this. Here, to make it even more gruesome, they pour water over her arm to freeze it more. In the prison car, the 3 that Layton convinced to stand down last week are sedated with Chronol and placed into drawers. This is clearly part of Layton's plan to place sleeper cells further up the train, and I love how the person delivering the sentence says, "May God have mercy on your spark." Sparks being used instead of souls cements the use of mechanical and industrial language. It shows that Wilford views people as parts rather than humans. In the movie, we learned he'd been abducting children under 5 and enslaving them because they were small enough to fit into a certain section in the engine, and this spark replacement definitely hammers home how the upper class view those below. The phrase "eat the rich" is uttered by Josie, and this is a saying that has recently picked up a lot of attention due to inequality, but it actually comes from the 17th century where it's attributed to Jean-Jacques Rousseau. The full phrase says, "When the people shall have nothing more to eat, they'll eat the rich." This means that when the upper class takes so much for themselves because of greed, it will eventually lead to an uprising by those that have been left with nothing. After the credits we cut to the engine room, or rather Cavill's compartment, and the train is rocked by an avalanche. We also see in her room that she has a picture of a child, and last week it was teased that she had a daughter. She speaks with the engineers in first, and due to the weather there's a lot of danger that surrounds them. There's also a clue that Cavill isn't actually Wilford, as Javi asks Bennett how long he thinks she can keep this up. He says it's been 7 years already, so clearly she's been masquerading as Wilford for that amount of time. We still don't know what happened to Wilford, and either he's in holding in this, or it's the first time a TV show actually killed Sean Bean off before he was able to make an appearance. Anyway, we don't know yet, but this sentence definitely adds a lot more weight to her not really being the character. At one point her badge is upside down and the W looks like an M. M is of course for Melanie, and Ruth adjusts this by turning it back to a W. It is possible that even she could be in on it too, and I love the symbolism of the M changing to a W, perhaps showing that Melanie has changed into the character. She speaks to those in first class, and we see that the Folger's bodyguard has a gun. I'm sure that people aren't allowed guns on the train if they're not security, but this may be a grey area with him being personal security. Anyway, they're not happy with Melanie, and who knows, she may even be overthrown in the same way that she could have overthrown Wilford. Layton is kept in a cell, and Beth and Roche come to visit him. Beth and Layton are forced to work together throughout this episode, even though she still bears the bruises of him knocking her out last week. They go to the market car and begin interrogating people before the autopsy of Sean Wise. Because his body was found, Nikki J has been taken out of suspension, and we see Jinju caring for her. We don't quite know what Jinju's role is yet, but because she's able to go further up the train, it does seem like she's a prominent figure. I'm guessing she's a scientist, as this would explain why she's held in such regard, and next to Melanie, she's actually one of the most mysterious characters in the show. Anyway, after Layton and Beth find out very little, they venture to the night car where we see a performance of Say It Ain't So Joe. This is a real song by Murray Head, and the singer said that he penned it in the memory of fallen heroes, which could exemplify how the train views the loss of the security forces in the wake of the revolution. However, another interesting aspect of the song that Head went on to state in 1995 does resemble a lot of things that we see in the show in modern society. Head said, "Say It Ain't So Joe was provoked by a 70s documentary on Richard Nixon prior to his resignation. The presenter was asking the editor of a small-town newspaper outside Washington how, in the face of conclusive evidence and proof, his readers could still show such undying support for the president they elected. The editor likens the situation to a scandal in the 20s when Joe Jackson, the famous baseball player, was rumoured to have taken a bribe to sink his team in the final of the World Series. His fans hung around the stadium chanting, 'Say it ain't so, Joe.' Its use in the show could be a comment on how people still blindly follow politicians, ignoring their bad sides, which... yeah, in recent times, let's not get into it. In the fictional world of the train, it could show that though many worship Wilford as a deity, some really see him for what he is, a cause of injustice and inequality. However, it also shows the blind devotion of his followers that have it good and refuse to acknowledge the mistakes that he's made. They interview the singer herself, Audrey, and she must be somewhat of a celebrity on the train because in the market car we see posters of her hanging up. She escorts Layton to a hypnotic aquatic room where he's able to meditate with Zara, his ex. We see how they met and that they were engaged at one point. But a girl's gotta eat, and sometimes you gotta join a chain so you can run some train. That's quickly becoming a catchphrase of these breakdowns, and yeah, we peaked at the bottom. After reconnecting, they reconnect, and Zara tries to get Layton to stay up train, but he's obviously torn by Josie and Miles being in the tail. The autopsy is carried out and they determine that the butchers would have the capabilities to do this. We also hear cows mooing and see the livestock firsthand. In the film it was said that animals were thought to be extinct, but there were chicken eggs, so who knows if this was the case. Either way, the cows are quickly wiped out after an avalanche starts, so this could be the reason that many thought that they were extinct. We're still unsure whether this show and the film will connect, but that's just something to bear in mind. After things die down, Layton and Beth discover a body in the freezer which has been used to serve beef in the market car. We also see that there are suits that allow you to travel outside of the train, and this means it may be possible for someone to venture into the wilderness of the world. I don't know if that will happen, just letting you know they have the capabilities to go beyond the train if they need to. Another interesting aspect is that we see a brakeman dealing chronal. Though this is used as an anesthetic, the character should not have access to it, so it is possible that a black market exists on board the train, and this would explain why in the film Nangoon was able to become a chronal addict. In the tale, Miles is recruited for an apprenticeship and he's separated from Josie. We don't exactly know what kind of apprenticeship this is for, but Miles is obviously very close to Layton, and it could be another person up the train that helps him with the revolution. Beth has a massive change of heart too, and we actually see her go on a bit of an arc in this episode. Initially she allows guards to push Layton around, but after he starts to crack the case, she defends him from one, perhaps showing that Layton being brought to the front will slowly start to change people's minds, and those in third may even join the tail in their uprising. Unless you're in first, you're pretty much there to be stepped upon, and whilst third and the tail have been turned on one another through manipulation by the front, it is possible that they may unite, which Beth definitely showcases. Layton draws a map of the train as well, leading me to believe that he is indeed still planning his revolution. He escapes his cell and leaves it for people in the tail that have been brought up to work. Layton also allows himself to be used as a punching bag in order for them to get the information, and it's nice to see that being up front hasn't changed his principles. One tail. Thumbs up if you like one tail. Melanie obviously isn't happy with this, and she goes to visit Layton in his cell, and she tries to explain the economy that exists on board Snowpiercer. Layton reveals that he knows Sean Wise was an informant that was paid in perks, and the only reason that they were investigating it is because he may have given up things about Wilford when he was tortured. So it does seem that someone on board the train, most likely the killer, knows that Melanie is masquerading as Wilford. Now I think Layton was pretty stupid to admit this, because all it does is put him directly in the firing line. I think as the show goes on, he will of course unearth that Melanie and Wilford are one and the same, and this will then lead to him being taken out by Melanie. If she was willing to kill, or at least cage Wilford as we've theorised, then it's more than likely she would do the same to Layton. She could merely tell the tale that he decided to live up train after solving the murder investigation, and then she could easily tell those up train that he decided to return to the tale. It would be the perfect crime, and who knows what she will do. As for Wilford, we do know that Sean Bean is cast as the character on IMDb. At one point in the episode, Melanie takes a long look at the prisoners in the drawers, and it is possible that she even has the real Wilford stored away in them in case she needs to bring him out. I definitely think that we will be seeing him in some form or another, but exactly how, we don't know yet. Overall though, it was another cracking episode, and I'm so glad we're getting some great television like this in the lockdown. Snowpiercer has had 2 solid episodes so far, and I'm very excited to see how things develop going forward and what other twists and turns we're in for. Obviously, I'd love to hear your thoughts and what your theories are on the show. Comment below and let me know, and if you enjoyed this video and didn't get a chance to see our breakdown of the first episode, then make sure you check it out after this. If you want to support the channel from as little as 99 cents a month, then please click the join button below. We massively appreciate it, and as a thank you, you get access to content early. If you want to come chat to us after the show, either follow us at Heavy Spoilers or click the Discord link in the description below. Every month we give away free movies to people who are subscribed to the channel, and this month you can win the Marvel Phase 3 Part 2 box set, and all you have to do is comment on a video and make sure you sub with notifications on. The more videos you comment on, the more you have a chance of winning, so make sure you get involved. The winner is going to be chosen at random on the 15th of June, and the set will be shipped out from then to whoever gets the prize, so best of luck to everyone who takes part. This is a channel for people who are never missing television, so if that's the kind of thing you like, you need to subscribe to Definition. Thanks again for taking the time to watch this, you've been the best, and I'll see you next time. Take care, peace.